How many of you have ever felt like you're the one drowning in a sea of design ideas? Endless feature requests, stakeholder opinions pulling you in every direction. Now you're working hard, but are you working smart? Now I see you, and I feel you, and I know the pain of wasting your time on projects that nobody really ever wanted. I've been there for sure. Now I like to think of it as if you're running a marathon, but in the wrong direction. Now imagine running a marathon the whole way 26 miles in the wrong direction. That's 52 miles on the way back just to complete what you started or wanted to start in the first place. We don't want that. So let's fix that, shall we? We're going to cut through the chaos and discover a simple, powerful tool that will transform the way you approach design. It's like that time at that company. Now we're using an example, of course, where they spend 6 months redesigning the About Us page. See, this page, it looked great. Sure, awards even, yes. But guess what? Site traffic didn't even budge. Sales? Nope. User engagement? Nothing. It was all effort, but unfortunately no impact. Now I've seen this situation occur at all kinds of companies over my career. But what about the shiny object feature? Something that a leader or the CEO wanted just because a competitor had it, or somebody showed them and they said, you know what, I want that too. Now the team scrambled, not necessarily because they were yes men, but of course perhaps, let's just say, they had no choice. They delivered on time, but the users didn't use it. Sound familiar? Well, you see, these are classic examples of not prioritizing or getting lost in the weeds. Now, what's the solution? Well, enter the impact versus effort matrix. Now, see, this particular method can be your lifeboat. It can be your compass, your trusted sidekick in the battle against design evil. No, against chaos, design chaos. Now think of it as a simple 2x2 grid. Now we're going to see an example of this on the screen. Now on one axis, of course, you're going to have impact, how much positive change this will bring to the user, the business, your project goals, or the organization's objectives and vision. And on the other axis, you're going to see effort, how much time or resource or energy this will take to implement. These are questions that you would have to try and evaluate and understand as you plot out this on your matrix. Now we're going to explain those matrix quadrants. What exactly do they mean? And then we'll dive deeper into how we could use this in a design project. Now the matrix breaks down into 4 key quadrants. 4, just 4. Quick wins. This will be known as high impact and low effort. Now these are what you may call your golden tickets. Now you want to do these first if you can. So these are the higher prioritized tasks that you want to try to see how you can implement and understand how you can tackle and bring in front of your users. See, these are the ideas that will give you the most bang for your buck. They will give you the most return on investment potentially after you've analyzed that. These will usually be, you could say, no-brainers to implement. Now, major projects. So this is high impact, high effort. Now, these are your strategic initiatives, your long-term investments. Now, these are what things that you really want to plan very carefully. And as you plan these carefully, you want to understand how these also fit within the bigger picture of any strategic initiative you already have in place. Fill-ins, low impact, low effort. Now, these are what you may call the nice to haves. So do them only if you have extra time. Now, most teams don't have extra time, but you want to have this quadrant anyway. Don't try not to allow initiatives or ideas or tasks or problems to solve to slip through the weeds, because those things that are in one quadrant, as time and user behavior evolves, they may migrate or get promoted to other quadrants. But our last quadrant, thankless task, low impact, high effort. Now you want to avoid these like the plague if you can. See, they drain on resources, they deliver minimal value, but some of these things need to be done. Now, of course, when you're looking at thankless task, Now for a website, what I would call a thankless task, or what I've seen are thankless tasks, I don't think they should be neglected or they should be avoided like the plague, are experiences like your login or your log out feature. Normally you could say, get very little design thinking attention, but they're not necessarily thankless tasks. Make sure you analyze and use data to understand how these experiences impact how customers begin or end their engagement with you. So, we're on to some examples of prioritization. Now, let's just say you're redesigning an e-commerce site. Now, a quick win. So perhaps you may want to think about optimizing the mobile checkout process. So we're talking about perhaps high impact on conversions. That could be relatively easy to implement, depending on the problem you're solving. A major project, rebuilding the entire product catalog structure. Now for an e-commerce site or a site of that kind of ilk, now we're talking about a PIM, so a product information management system. Now this is basically where, if you're restructuring that, you're now talking about involving multiple teams, not just your design team, not just your BAs, but also your data architecture team, other teams as well, your e-commerce team, your content team, your product teams, depending on who inputs that data into that PIM. So you really got to think really big now when you're thinking about major projects. These are things you have to think through carefully and understand what all the connected dots are, if possible. So that's high impact on SEO, things such as this. And it's high impact on discoverability, but it is a large undertaking. So fill-ins. So adding a blog post to the company's history, or an inspiration page perhaps. So that could be low impact, perhaps because it could be easy to write that kind of post. Well, we hope it would be easy. But a thankless task. This is the last quadrant. That could be creating a custom animation or the loading screen. Low impact, time consuming, right? But what you're doing is that you're measuring customers' expectation on any objects or ARIA elements on your page or on your website that may take time to load. Maybe this could be some kind of video or visualization feature or interactive component that requires more data bandwidth to load all of its features and its full experience. Now, by visually mapping these options, it becomes crystal clear where your priorities should lie. Beyond the feature prioritization, you want to think about problem solving. Because here's a crucial point. You see, you don't just want to prioritize features. You've got to think bigger than just features. You've got to view the whole problem you're trying to solve, right? So most people will try to process or think about features. Let's add this feature, let's add that feature. But how does that fit within the larger holistic experience for the customer? So features might, on the face of it, seem good to do, but actually, you've got to think bigger than this. Let's just say users are abandoning the cart process, for example. They're going to visualize this. And instead of just adding a new payment option feature, ask why they're leaving. Is it confusing navigation? So you may need to fix the navigation. High impact, could be low effort. Are the shipping costs too high? Investigate shipping options. High impact. Could be medium effort, because now you're looking at working with your logistics organization, your PUDO as it were, to make sure that one, you can perhaps renegotiate competitive prices, and that of course may be fed back through the business. And again, these are connected dots or teams that may be outside of your control when it comes to decision making. But again, of course, within the experience you're designing, you need to make sure that you clearly can communicate these areas to the customer so they may get the benefit. What about the website? Is it too slow? Well, you may want to optimize site speed. High impact, that could be high effort. You may need to look at a revisit of the technology you're currently using. So you want to break down a problem into manageable pieces and then use the matrix to prioritize those pieces. See, this leads to a more holistic and effective solution that you would be designing and providing for your users. But there are dangers of not prioritizing. You see, without prioritization, you're going to essentially end up with feature bloat, a product that tries to be everything to everyone but ends up pleasing no one. You see, if you design for everyone, you design for no one. That's another way of saying it. And that's a phrase or adage that I love to use because it helps me to remember who I should be designing for and who the most important groups or segments within the holistic group of users or overarching group of users that use the product that I'm working on. So your team gets demoralized, deadlines will slip, and budget vanishes. You see, it's the road to project hell paved with good intentions but poorly allocated resources. Now, you might even end up being blamed for the mistakes of others as a result of poor prioritization or complete lack thereof. Now, I've seen companies spend years on building a product only to find out that nobody really wanted it. Well, one, they were probably product focused instead of user and data focused. And they were so focused on building the features that they forgot to ask themselves if they were solving a real problem in the first place. Now, of course, there are benefits for leaders. If you're a leader or aspiring to be one and master prioritization, this is something that's non-negotiable for you. Now, you want to be making sure that you understand that it's not about just making better product decisions. It's about building trust with your team, leadership. So you're managing upwards, outwards, horizontally amongst your peers as well. Now, when you can clearly articulate why you're focusing on specific tasks and why others are being deferred, you're going to foster transparency and alignment and trust and confidence in you as a leader. Now, it demonstrates strategic thinking, of course, and it reduces wasted effort. It shows your team that you value their time and you value them as people and the expertise they bring to the team. Plus, consistently delivering high impact results will make you look, well, of course, like a rock star. And who doesn't want to look like a rock star? Because it's going to free you up to focus on the bigger picture things, the strategic initiatives that truly matter, that really move the needle. They're the things that will make a huge impact, and you'll be part of that. You'll have the opportunity to be part of that for sure. You see, it's going to demonstrate trust and collaboration from the team, and it will foster more innovation and that kind of thinking amongst that team. So you're going to have a more innovative atmosphere, basically. But how can you implement this? Can you? Well, yes, you can do this today. Here's how. Gather your team. Bring together stakeholders, designers, developers, and anyone else involved in the project. Brainstorm. List out all potential features, tasks, or problem areas. Then rate impact and effort. Now, for each item, discuss and agree on a score for impact 1 to 5 and effort 1 to 5. But be honest, be realistic. Of course, you want to plot the matrix. Visually place each item on the matrix. Prioritize. Focus on quick wins first. Major projects next. Then fill-ins if you have time. Ruthlessly eliminate thankless tasks, and you'll thank me later. Communicate clearly and explain your prioritization decisions to the team. Transparency ultimately is key. Transparency ultimately is key. But then, of course, you need to revisit some things as well, because the matrix isn't set in stone, just like SWOT. And we talked about SWOT in one of our previous videos. See, as you learn more, you're going to revisit and adjust your priorities. Now, here's a few actionable statements you can start using today. Before we start building anything, let's map it on the impact versus effort matrix. Is this a quick win? If not, why exactly are we doing it? How can we break this problem down into smaller, manageable chunks or pieces? Let's focus on delivering value, not just features. We need to invest in things that actually matter to the customers, not things that simply protect our jobs. Make a bigger impact. Move the needle. So guys, ditch the endless task list and embrace the power of prioritization. NNG, they have an impact versus effort matrix on their website, and I recommend it's something that you definitely look at. The link's in the description below, but let me know what you think about this particular exercise, this method, and if you've used it before, how did it help you, and what did you like most about using it? Stay present, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.